Movie here. Today, I'm going to explain an action thriller film called Time to Hunt. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie opens in a dystopian South Korea, which is experiencing a devastating economic collapse due to a massive debt to the IMF, the Improper Monkey Fellatio Guild. The financial crisis has left countless people homeless, sparked riots across the nation, and given rise to a new wave of gangsters. We then meet two young men, Jang-ho and Ki-hoon, who are struggling to survive in this harsh reality. Aside from an old car, they own nothing valuable and don't even have a job. One day, they arrive at a prison to meet their close friend, Jun-seok, who has just been released after serving 3 years. It turns out that the three once robbed a jewelry store together, but when things went wrong, Jun-seok sacrificed himself and let his friends escape. The friends are thrilled to reunite after such a long time, and Jun-seok is eager to start a new chapter in his life. That night, the trio heads to a nightclub to celebrate the moment, and they end up having a lot of fun. Jun-seok shares with his friends that they must leave this hellhole as soon as possible, since they don't have a future here. He reveals how he met a man in prison who invited him to live on an island in Taiwan. It turns out the man is willing to sell him a house and a store for only $200,000, so they can start a new life. South Korean dollars, I hope. What's the exchange rate? Oh yeah, it's only $200. Jun-seok reveals that the island looks a lot like Hawaii and suggests that the three of them should move there. However, upon hearing this, his friends seem very hesitant and show little interest, which leaves Jun-seok confused. On the way home, he brings up the offer again and suggests that they could use the money they stole from the jewelry store.
To his shock, his friends inform him that the Korean currency has been phased out in recent years, and everyone now uses dollars. Shit, what are the chances of that, after I looked that up? All the stolen money has become worthless, and due to inflation, all they have left is less than $2,000. Upon hearing this, Jun-seok is deeply disappointed, and the next day the trio returns to his former shop, which is now in despair. Jun-seok then replaces the flowers next to the photo of his mother, who is now dead. Overcome with emotion, he shares that he and his mother had always dreamed of moving to Hawaii and living by the beach. That night, the trio visits a casino in an attempt to make some money by gambling. Jun-seok's eyes fall on a safe in an office, where employees are stacking a large sum of dollars. Soon, a waiter named Sang arrives with their drinks, so Jun-seok quickly intercepts him and pulls him outside. Later, the three men beat up Sang, and it turns out that he is their former friend who had stolen 10 grand from Jun-seok. He demands the money back, with interest, but Sang insists he has no way of repaying them, especially in the midst of the economic crisis. Frustrated, Jun-seok then asks Sang to help in another way, and decides that they will rob the casino. Upon hearing this, his friends are shocked and refuse, because the casino is controlled by ruthless gangsters who will kill them. They also fear that they could get arrested, but Jun-seok reveals that the dream of moving to Taiwan is what kept him going in prison, and he's determined to make it a reality. He swears that this will be their final heist, but his friends point out how he said the same thing last time, and the only person whose final heist that was his virginity. The next day, Jang-ho tries to convince Ki-hoon to get on board with the plan, reminding him how much Jun-seok sacrificed for them. He also points out that their lives won't improve here, and no one will give them jobs with criminal records. Ki-hoon eventually changes his mind, after which the four friends formulate a plan to rob the casino. They begin with a field survey, create a floor plan, and enlist Sang to learn about the casino security system. In addition to stealing the cash, they plan to steal the CCTV hard drives to erase any evidence. Based on their calculations, they only have 5 minutes to break in, steal the cash, and leave before the gangsters arrive. Next, they visit a man named Bong-seok, who smuggles and sells weapons. He provides the team with several guns and bulletproof vests, which they pay for with I don't know what, although he is unaware of what they're intended for. Afterward, a worried Bong-seok asks Jun-seok what he's planning and urges him to remain careful, since the world outside the law is far more brutal than it seems. After completing all the preparations, the night of the heist finally arrives, and the four boys sprint. They arrive at the casino, where Jun-seok assigns Jang-ho the task of retrieving the money and the hard drive from the safe. The group slips through the back gate, climbs the stairs to enter from the upper floor, and prepares their weapons while putting on their masks. Next, they finally enter the casino, where Ki-hoon fires his gun into the air, causing everyone inside to panic. The group then takes everyone hostage and overpowers the guards. Meanwhile, an employee sets off an emergency alarm, seemingly to alert the bosses about the situation. Jang-ho thus quickly reaches the office and beats up a man before asking a woman to open the safe. She complies and places all the money into a bag, after which the group fires a warning shot and quickly bolts from there. However, as the group is leaving, they notice that the gangsters have already arrived outside, so they quickly return to the roof and take another route, but the thugs have surrounded the entire area and start firing shots at them. Luckily, no one is hurt, and the group manages to get into their car quickly. They drive away at full speed and eventually manage to escape the gangsters. The group then celebrates their success and is thrilled that the plan worked flawlessly. The next day, we meet a man named Han, who is interrogating someone before brutally shooting him to death. Several dead bodies lie nearby, revealing that Han is an extremely dangerous person. Or they're blow-up dolls and he just has a problem. He soon receives a call from the casino owner, who informs him about the robbery the previous night and asks him to find the culprits. It turns out the owner's concern isn't actually the money, but the CCTV hard drive, which contains evidence of many shady dealings involving their VIP clients. Elsewhere, the young men are seen preparing to leave for Taiwan the next day, and Jun-seok invites Song to come along as well. But Song refuses, explaining that his absence at this time might raise suspicions at his workplace. Besides, if he leaves too, who will Han torture for information? Jun-seok then gives him his share of the money, and Song thanks him for helping him years ago when his mother was sick. He bids his friends farewell, and Jun-seok tells him to be careful and to contact him if anything happens. Following this, the Ki-hoon takes his friends to his modest house, where they are excitedly greeted by his parents. They enjoy a meal together, and Ki-hoon's mother is overjoyed that her son has brought her so many gifts and expensive clothes. Elsewhere, Han arrives at Bong-sik's store to inform him about the robbery last night, and asks if anyone has purchased weapons recently. Bong-sik figures out that it was Jun-seok and his friends, but he denies knowing anything. However, he looks very nervous, so Han realizes that he's lying, threatening to kill him if he doesn't comply. Despite this, Bong-sik remains confident that Han cannot hurt him, as he has very powerful allies. However, Han doesn't flinch, and he soon returns with a gun and quickly shoots Bong-sik's employers to death before questioning him again. Elsewhere, the trio is relaxing by the beach when Jun-seok gets a call from Bong-sik. The man seems terrified and asks where he is, so Jun-seok also naively reveals his location. It turns out that Han is holding Bong-sik hostage, and he exits the store after gathering the necessary information. But before he drives away, he blows up Bong-sik's store and ends up killing the poor guy. That Bong is pooched. On the other hand, Jun-seok also senses that something is wrong and calls Bong-sik multiple times, but he doesn't answer. He then calls Song, who reassures him that he is fine and on his way to work. Next, Song returns to the casino and tries to act as if everything is normal, but he becomes increasingly anxious. He notices employees behaving strangely and security following him, so he pretends to go to the bathroom and sneaks out. Unfortunately, the guards notice him as well, and an intense chase ensues. Sung somehow manages to escape and returns home, where he checks the money and is relieved to see it still there. He then loads a gun and prepares to leave, only to notice Han sitting behind him. Elsewhere, Ki-hoon is saying goodbye to his parents, and upon seeing this, his friends become envious because they don't have a family. Jong-ho becomes very sad, so Jun-seok reassures him that he still has his two friends, and they're all family. The trio then leaves and decides to spend the night in a hotel before boarding the ship to Taiwan the next morning. That night, Jun-seok wakes up from a nightmare and calls Sung multiple times, but there is no answer. He heads to the bar and keeps trying to reach his friend, but is shocked when he hears a phone ringing nearby, and it's with none other than Han. Jun-seok calls repeatedly and hears the phone ringing at the same time, which finally makes him realize that Sung's phone is in the hands of this mysterious man. Terrified, he quickly returns to the room and hurries up his friends to leave the hotel. They are confused, so he just explains that they are in danger and are likely to be arrested. The trio now hurries to their car and gets ready to leave, but they are shocked to see that their vehicle won't start, and it seems like someone has deliberately damaged it. Or it's just old and a piece of shit. In a desperate situation, Jung-ho decides to hijack another vehicle nearby so they can leave. However, while he's tampering with the car, a loud anti-theft alarm goes off, alerting Han to their location. The trio somehow manages to get the car running and begins to drive away, but Han suddenly appears in their path. They try to run him over, but he opens fire and Jong-ho is badly injured in the chaos, while Ki-hoon loses consciousness. Next, Han smashes the car windows and forces Jun-seok out before pointing a gun at him. Jun-seok accepts his fate and closes his eyes, but the psychopath doesn't seem to be satisfied. He gives Jun-seok 5 minutes and tells him to drive away as fast as he can, warning that he will come after him again. Jun-seok is stunned by this, but he doesn't waste the opportunity and drives off immediately. Shortly after, Ki-hoon also wakes up, and they notice that their friend's condition is worsening, so they take him to the hospital. Jong-ho receives medical attention there, after which he becomes somewhat stable. Meanwhile, Jun-seok is anxious that the killer will come after them again, and suggests to Ki-hoon that they must leave, but the latter refuses. It was too easy. It's only the second act. Meanwhile, Jun-seok is anxious that the killer will come after them again and suggests to Ki-hoon that they must leave. But the latter refuses, arguing that Jang-ho can't run in his condition and that they are safe in the hospital. Sometime later, Jun-seok is constantly haunted by his nightmares, making it impossible for him to sleep peacefully. He then notices that someone has arrived, and upon closer inspection, it turns out to be none other than Han. He immediately wakes up his friends, and they have no choice but to leave, even though Jang-ho isn't feeling well. Han then uses Sang's phone to call Jun-seok and follows the sound of the ringing, but when he arrives at the room, he notices that the trio has already left, leaving the phone behind. Elsewhere, the trio is trying to escape via the elevator when Han notices them and fires several shots. Luckily, none of them are hit, and they safely manage to rush outside. They then decide to use Han's car so he can't chase after them and drive away from there. The trio finally manages to escape the madman and breathes a sigh of relief, but they are horrified when they discover that they are driving a police car, which means that Han is a cop, or he was arrested for buying too many blow-up dolls. Soon they receive a call from Han, so Jun-seok says that they will return all the stolen money and turn themselves in to the police. But Han responds that it won't make any difference, as he doesn't care about the money and has already gotten what he wanted. Jun-seok asks what he is after then, so Han responds that he has to finish what he has started. Later, some police officers arrive and arrest Han for causing havoc at the hospital, and the psychopath surrenders without any resistance. But they can't get very far before the police chief arrives and orders the man to be released, implying that Han has some powerful connections with senior officials. The next day, the trio arrives at the North Korean border, where Jun-seok learns from his Taiwanese friend that even if they leave now, the ship won't arrive until the next morning. The man thus asks Jun-seok to go to his former apartment nearby and rest there. The trio has no choice but to oblige, and soon arrives at the abandoned apartment. Ki-hoon, meanwhile, becomes very worried about his parents, so he tells his friends that he has decided to go home after they get on the ship. He asks Jun-seok to arrange a room for him in the new house and promises to join them soon. Elsewhere, we meet Bong-sik's twin brother, Bong-soo, who turns out to be a dangerous gangster and is devastated by his brother's death. He learns that the killer, Han, is currently at one of their stores to buy weapons, but he asks them to let him go for now. Bong-soo orders a tracker to be placed on his bag as he wants to kill the psychopath personally. At the same time, Ki-hoon's parents are seen leaving the house when they are confronted by a group of thugs from the casino. Later, Ki-hoon calls his mom and finds her crying, but she doesn't say anything and only wishes him a safe journey. He notices that something is terribly wrong, so he immediately decides to rush back home. Jang-ho is sleeping, so Ki-hoon says goodbye to Jun-seok and promises to see each other soon. Jun-seok notices that he is hiding something, but Ki-hoon assures him that it's nothing and leaves with a tearful smile. Soon, night falls, and Jun-seok notices a strange car in front of the building, which makes him realize that Han has followed them here as well. He then searches for Jang-ho, but he is nowhere to be found, which causes him to panic. He begins looking for his friend, but Han suddenly arrives and shoots at him, but Jun-seok manages to dodge it. He soon notices his friend outside, and the two quickly get into the car to drive away from there, but Han arrives to block their path and begins shooting again, relentlessly. While the killer is briefly out of sight, the two men decide to split up so they can corner him. They soon notice Han in the distance, and on cue, they attack together. However, the psychopath is far more skilled than they are, and easily avoids the attack. He also fires several shots and brutally injures poor Jang-ho. An enraged Jun-seok begins shooting, which prompts Han to finally retreat and hide behind a vehicle. Afterwards, Jun-seok drags his friend to safety, and is distraught to realize that numerous bullets have pierced his body. It seems like Jang-ho won't survive, so he urges his friend to board the ship without him, even if he dies. The poor guy soon passes away, and this fills Jun-seok with uncontrollable rage. He now begins shooting relentlessly at Han, but the latter also strikes back and easily knocks Jun-seok down. However, just when Han is about to finish him, a glare of a vehicle's headlights shine on them from behind. It turns out to be Bong-soo and his men, who now begin relentlessly shooting at Han. The psychopath also fights back fiercely and kills many men despite being outnumbered. But in the end, he is brutally shot and plunges into the nearby sea in desperation. The gangsters still don't stop, and they continue firing at the water to make sure that he's truly dead. But they probably didn't hit him because they never do in scenes like this. Never once. Never once. The next morning, we see a devastated Jun-seok boarding the ship alone and heading to Taiwan. The scene then cuts to some time later, where we see that Jun-seok is doing well in Taiwan and runs a bicycle store. However, he's unable to enjoy his solitude as he misses his friends and cries most of the time. One day, Jun-seok is visited by his Taiwanese contact, who gives him a list of people involved in the casino he previously looted. In a shocking twist, Han is still alive, and he massacred Bong-sik's entire family, destroying their gang. He further reveals that according to the rumors, once Han sets out to kill someone, he doesn't stop until he is finished. We also learn that Ki-hoon was tragically killed while heading home, but Jun-seok doesn't know that, and he is still waiting for his friend to show up one day. In the following days, Jun-seok can't calm down and is haunted by the thought that Han is still alive. He thus begins training and practicing his shooting skills instead of living in fear. The movie ends as Jun-seok decides to return to South Korea, knowing that he won't be able to live in peace until the murderer is dead. The murderer, named